All right, so today we're diving into solo travel in Paris. We're looking at Love to Visit France, the newsletter. It's by Narrative Nomad, who calls themselves the Midlife Globetrotter. And honestly, they've got me, like, ready to book a flight right now. They really get what makes solo travel in Paris so special.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this deep dive. We're not just talking about the flights and the hotels and all that. It's about like the feeling.
Mhm.
Like Narrative Nomad says, being there solo felt like a secret adventure. And then they even say never felt lonely. Have you ever like felt that way when you've traveled by yourself?
Oh, absolutely. It's like you can really connect with the place,
Yeah.
when you're not trying to like make sure everyone in your group is happy. And Narrative Nomad has some really great advice, not just about planning and safety, but also about how to like really make the most of that feeling of freedom, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Paris is already a city that kind of encourages you to explore, right? Just the atmosphere, the way it looks, the smells, the food. You're constantly being drawn in. And when you're solo, you can really follow those whims. Take your time and get lost in the experience.
That actually reminds me of one of their suggestions, the Big Bus Paris hop off tour with optional river cruise. I know, I know it sounds a little touristy, but stick with me.
Yeah, I mean, think of it as a way to like ease into the city, especially if you're traveling solo. You get to see the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, all the big stuff without having to worry about figuring out the metro or getting lost. So you get a feel for Paris before you really dive into those deeper explorations.
Right, and you can hop off whenever you want if something catches your eye. Then you can explore on your own. Plus, they have audio commentary in like tons of languages, so you don't have to worry about a language barrier.
Exactly. It's all about removing those obstacles.
Hmm.
So you can just focus on experiencing Paris.
Okay, so let's move on to the Around the Web section, where Narrative Nomad shares all these interesting articles and resources. Two things really stood out to me. First, there's this article about 10 four-star hotels in Paris for a little touch of luxury.
Ooh, that's an interesting one for solo travel. It makes you think about what kind of solo traveler is looking for that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's about pampering yourself or
Right.
celebrating being independent or just making the trip extra special.
Right. And then there's this whole guide to Montmartre, which is
Yeah.
known for like its bohemian vibe and winding streets and the art scene. It's a total different energy.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this newsletter. It's like it's asking you, what experience do you want to create for yourself?
Oh.
Do you want to be surrounded by luxury? Or do you want to wander around sketching cafes and discover hidden art studios? It's really up to you.
Yeah, it is all about like tailoring the trip to what you want. And that's something this newsletter is really good at. It's not just about seeing the sights, but finding those little moments that you connect with.
It's true. It's like it's trying to change your mindset. Instead of thinking of solo travel as something to avoid, it's like it's an opportunity for self-discovery and personal growth.
Because you don't have to compromise or do things you don't want to do,
Well,
right? You can just follow your own path.
exactly. It can be so liberating.
And speaking of surprises, remember that section on Picardy? Top 10 places to visit in Picardy.
Oh yeah, Picardy. Now that's a hidden gem for solo travelers. Imagine exploring these medieval cathedrals and towns, and it's an easy trip from Paris.
It's like you can have two completely different vacations at once. You can experience the energy of Paris and then escape to the countryside.
And even in Paris, you can find those quiet moments, like the courtyard of a museum,
Mm.
or a walk along the Seine early in the morning.
And speaking of quiet moments, I saw the reminder about Champagne Day.
Oh, of course. October 25th, a day to celebrate with a glass of bubbly.
It's a fun little detail, but it also shows how important it is to celebrate, especially when you're traveling by yourself,
Yeah, to savor those little moments.
to really enjoy yourself.
So picture this. You're sitting at a sidewalk cafe in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. Just like that social media post described. You've had a day exploring the city. You're surrounded by the beauty of Paris. And you raise a glass of champagne to toast your adventure.
Cheers to that. And while we're talking about indulging, we can't forget about the food. The newsletter has a section called Top 10 Most Iconic Foods You Must Try in Paris.
Oh, absolutely. Parisian cuisine is an experience in itself. But, even beyond the iconic dishes, there's so much joy in just discovering little local spots, bistros and patisseries.
Yeah, finding those hidden gems, trying new things, maybe even going outside your comfort zone a little.
It's all part of the adventure.
Okay, so let's talk about something practical, especially for someone traveling alone in a new city. The 25 Essential Paris Tips in 8 Minutes video.
Oh, that's a great resource. It's full of these little bits of information that can make your trip so much better. It covers everything from the metro to souvenirs.
And when you're traveling solo and you feel confident, it can make the experience so much better. You're not worried about getting lost, so you can relax and enjoy those secret adventure moments.
Exactly. It's like having a local friend giving you the inside scoop,
Yeah.
helping you avoid the tourist traps.
And sometimes those little tips lead to unexpected discoveries, like maybe you learn some basic French, and that helps you talk to a local, or you figure out the bus system, and you end up in a neighborhood you never would have seen.
Yeah, it's about being able to navigate the city with confidence, and that lets you be open to new experiences.
It's like those tips give you the freedom to wander off the beaten path and discover your own Paris. It's funny, we're talking about solo travel, but this newsletter is making me think about all kinds of travel and how much better it can be when you're open to new experiences.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And sometimes those moments happen because you're not focused on an itinerary or trying to make everyone in a group happy. You're more in the moment, more aware of what's happening around you.
Right, like you said, it's about changing your mindset, embracing the freedom and flexibility of solo travel. It made me think of something Narrative Nomad said about Paris having a special and unique personality, and they felt like traveling solo. Really let them connect with that.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about the landmarks. It's about the energy of the city, feeling the rhythm, understanding the nuances.
It's like you become part of the story instead of just watching it.
Exactly. And that story, that experience, it'll be different for every solo traveler. Your secret adventure will be shaped by you, your interests,
Yeah.
the people you meet, how much you're willing to explore.
So to wrap up, I think the main thing is solo travel in Paris is about so much more than just checking things off a list.
Yeah.
It's about discovery,
Mhm.
discovering the city, and discovering yourself.
It's about letting yourself be surprised, challenged even, letting the experience change you. And who knows? You might even discover things about yourself that you never knew were there.
This newsletter has given us a lot to think about. Practical tips, inspiring stories. But like with any deep dive, the real journey starts when you take this information and make it your own.
Here's something to think about. As you plan your own trip to Paris, what kind of experience are you looking for? What story do you want to tell?
What's out there waiting to be discovered? What will you find?
Paris is waiting. All you have to do is go